Hey, what's up? This is Laidback Luke, DJ and producer, Kung Fu athlete, and family guy. Happy release day to Shiah, Maisal, and myself. Our brand new track, Good Again, which I'll talk about in this vlog, is out right now on all portals via Mixmash Records. Make sure to check it out through the link in the description below. And please, let us know what you think.
Didn't know that I would be lost at sea, now I know.
To celebrate this release, today's vlog is dedicated to the entire process of this record, because I would love to show you what exactly goes down behind the scenes instead of only showing you the end result. It's a story that I re-recorded and excited to tell you. So let's rewind to when it all began, back on the first day of 2020. Let me set the stage for you right here. I'm taking it back to January 2020, where Tom Kreyn sent me this email. Hello Luke, Happy New Year. As Bam Bam is working pretty well, Spotify and supports, would you be interested for a follow-up? Maybe a mix between Bam Bam and our Galantis remix. Let me know what you think. Bam Bam was our previous collab, and for you who don't know, it sounded like this. Now, I've always loved their Galantis remix. For me, it sounds like a real twisted house, and I played it a lot during my sets. See, I thought a combo between Bam Bam and their Galantis remix would be a really good idea, but then Boris said this.
I think it's a great idea, but I think we should go for something less clubby than Bam Bam. Maybe a bit more, with a vocal. I love the idea of the Galantis remix that they did. Maybe, it could be a good track from Miami.
Ah, yes, Miami 2020. Can you imagine us playing that out there? Before we get to that and get to COVID and how Miami 2020 actually never happened, let me take you back to the email conversation. Raven and Kreyn loved the idea, and they were very quick to send me a folder with vocals I could pick from. Look at all these titles. The one that stuck out for me was Against the Grain, and so I emailed them that. Tom replied that they were in Asia for 4 full days, so they were ready to do 100% work on it. They had also received the full parts of the Against the Grain vocal, and so they would start working on it straight away and send me a sketch soon. Exciting stuff. It was only 4 days after that Tom emailed me back that they tried working on it on tour, but their tour laptop couldn't handle the project. And so on January 8th, I asked them if it was okay for me to start sketching something up in that case. They had no problem with that, and they sent me the stems for the singer. Wow, it's actually so much fun listening back to the sketch. It's actually a tiny little bit of break there, and I actually worked a lot on the drop. One thing that stands out is the bleep, of course, but also the bass line that's still in the finalized version. So the bleeps, which I had just sampled from their remix. And the bass line out of one of my favorites since the Anna 2. It is the Diablo bass, and solo it sounds like this. Not too much EQ. So on January 10th, I sent them this rough sketch, and 2 days later they replied they loved the idea and the rhythm of it. They said there was no need to sample the bleeps because they would just take it out of their previous project, and they would add some new details and elements as well. And so I hooked them up with the stems from my project, and on January 16th they downloaded my stems and started working on it. Took them a couple of weeks, but they sent me their version back, and I absolutely love the arpeggio they added under the vocal. Their original bleeps as well sounded much nicer in the mix, but they ditched my bass line, and I emailed them to ask them to implement that back in, because I do think that certain deep house DJs or bass house DJs, or for certain DJs, that this would help them transition into various genres or into various other sections in their sets. It took them a good 4 days to reply, but they agreed and they would put the bass line back in. Now, if you're wondering what's up with all this Raven and Kreyn talk, and I did not realize they were on this track, and how does this work? Make sure to stay tuned. I will explain that in a little bit. We fast forwarded to March 9 in 2020 now. By this time we were not going to make it in time for Miami. But it was all good because Miami would get cancelled now because of COVID. And so they said sorry for the big delay. Apparently their studio computer needed a repair. But they came through with the changes, and now it sounded like this.
Go ahead and say it. I'm going, yeah.
And so I had started working with their stems, added some strings here, and doing some rearranging and adding some EQs, effects, and whatnot in there. This started to shape up really nicely now. The guys started to love it too, but then Boris had some feedback for us.
I think it's a great idea, but I think there's a few things that can be changed. Maybe try to automate the reverb on the twisted house synth in the drops towards the end of the bar to create more tension. And also maybe at 20 seconds in, try to make it sound a little bit bigger by deleting the filtered kick so the piano breathes a little bit more. Maybe like the track you did with Steph.
So I adjusted that, adding some layering in the piano, making the bass thicker in the drop, and it sounded pretty awesome. I had sent it to the guys and was eagerly awaiting their feedback. But then it got silent, and it was a little bit of a shock. After a few weeks, I got an email back from Tom, who's in France. Raven and Kreyn are from France, and he said he had COVID. He was recovering, and this is April 2020. It was very novel, and it was actually a little bit terrifying. But Tom said he got better. They loved this new version. I had done some mastering on it, and I was very happy with it too. But then a few months passed, and we fast forwarded to the end of August 2020. And so, what's happening with my Raven and Kreyn collab? Any news?
Well, because of the pitching of the vocals, the management wasn't quite sure if this is the right track for now. So maybe we should, do something different with the track.
Oh, shoot. So maybe we try and look for another vocal then.
I guess so.
It was by this time Shiah started to contact me. This was because he had a connection with Gattuso. Apparently they were working on a project together right before the pandemic, and that never got finished because of the pandemic. And what I noticed about Shiah is that I loved his voice instantly. I had contacted you on Instagram, and I told you about this instrumental that I had. And what were your first thoughts when hearing this instrumental?
First, I was just like, wow, that's awesome that he's contacting me. And then I clicked the link, and I was listening to the instrumental, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. And I think I could do something with it. So I brought it down to my little music room, and I played it on the speakers, and I listened to it a few times, and ideas started, coming to my brain, and I was starting to write some ideas. And, that's really what I thought right away.
Can you let my audience hear what you sang for me in that little voice recording you sent me on Instagram?
Yes. Okay. So here we go. Don't want to give up hope. Did I make a mistake? By the time I grow old, will I be the same way? Will I be the same way? By the time I grow old, will I be the same way? Don't want to give up hope.
Wow. I love it. I love your talent. And I remember hearing this for the first time, and I was like, whoa, this sounds incredible. So I'm happy we jumped on that. What's the song about? What inspired you? And I always thought this was about the pandemic.
Yes. Right away, this came to me, this topic about talking about mental health and how I feel lost during this time in the pandemic, and asking myself if I'm going to feel this way when I get older. And that's definitely what the song is about. just wanted to feel good again.
And so from the voice memo, which my A&R Boris absolutely loved, you went on to record this in the studio. And so can you tell us how that went, and which studio is that, and was it a long session?
It's a studio here in New York called the Mix Palace on Long Island. And my engineer, Steve K, he recorded it. And it was a blast to record. I was so excited to get in the booth and to be like, I'm recording vocals for Laidback Fluke, let's go.
So Shiah came through with all the studio vocal stems, and this is what I had sent Raven and Kreyn at the end of August.
Didn't know that I would be lost at sea, now I know. Came to me at a hard time, it'll be alright. You said to me, don't wanna be alone, wanna see things change. By the time I grow old, or will I be the same way? I wanna feel good again.
It was at this time I started to do some global mastering on it too, and it started to sound really nicely. Got my ozones here, my EQs, some sausage fattener, which now my mastering chain looks different, and the end result one actually has a different master chain, one that's good for all the things that I've learned in 2020 during the pandemic. And the vocal was so catchy, I started waking up with it in my head for about 2 weeks while I was working on the demo. And what was so good was that now everyone was on board, everyone loved it, and the management loved the new vocal as well. A bit of silence from Raven and Kreyn though. It took them a good 2 weeks to respond, but apparently Tom had been moving house. And I was actually happy to hear that, because here I was thinking they didn't like the song, but they actually did. And this meant for me that I needed to finish the track now, needed to come up with a solid master. And mind you, we are talking about mid-September 2020 now. So I've implemented some of my new mastering techniques in this track to make it sound loud and clear. But the best way for me to find out if the mastering really works is the good old car test. If it sounds good in here, I know it'll sound good everywhere.
Don't wanna be alone, wanna see things change. By the time I grow old, or will I be the same way? Or will I be the same way? By the time I grow old, or will I be the same way? Don't wanna give up hope, or will I be the same way? I wanna feel good again.
It took me a few good tries, but I finally nailed a good car test and a good master as well. Quite happy with the outcome. Boris as well. But then this happened.
We're planning on releasing this track in January 2021, but I just got the news from Raven and Kreyn that their schedule is currently heavily packed. They suggested that we take their name off and we release this track ahead. Is that okay for you?
Oh, so we're taking their name off.
Yeah.
Well, if they don't have a problem with it, I guess so. And so here it is, and mind you, Raven and Kreyn and I are currently working on a new song, which hopefully they don't mind putting their name on this time. They opted not to be mentioned on this one, but their names are obviously in the credits, and they will get all of their musical royalties from this song as well. And for clarity, they are not ghost producers of this track. They actually wanted to not be named in the project because it didn't work out with their release schedule, and in fact it was their idea to not be mentioned on this. But now you know, and now you know the full backstory of the track. What a ride! And every track has a different backstory to it, but I'm very happy I could share this one with you. Did you realize that sometimes it can take up that much time to finish a collab? Speaking of finishing a track, for all my producers out there, did you already enter our Show Me Love remix contest? There are some really awesome prizes for the winners. Besides an official release for the best remix, we are giving away 2 digital DJ tips courses, a Denon DJ Prime 2, M Audio's Oxygen Pro, and a set of M Audio BX5s. Who wouldn't want to win one of these? Make sure to click the link below for everything you need to know. Good luck and may the best remix win. Next vlog I'm going to tell you what tracks you can mix into each other in your DJ sets and why. Make sure to hit that subscribe button to not miss out, and did you hit that like button already? Catch you on the next vlog. Until then, L's up, rave safely, and salute.